Hello and welcome to Straight from the Training Ground, the podcast where we share our love for the beautiful game and the people out in their communities doing beautiful things. And we always have some great guests here, but very excited today to have with us the Cleveland Soccer Group, Micheal and Noah. Very excited to have them here. I don't want to spoil everything. So guys, why don't you quickly just introduce yourself and tell everybody why you're here.
Sure. It's great to be here. Thanks for having us. We're leading a group trying to bring professional soccer to Cleveland, men's and women's professional soccer. And with that, we hope to bring a whole ecosystem to support that and to make the game, accessible. Thankfully, when we started this journey, and Noah, I was just thinking about I don't remember how I first met you. You feel like you've been a part of the journey the whole time. But if you want to talk about somebody who understands youth soccer in Cleveland, pickup, rec, league, travel, club, everything in between. Noah's your guy, and we've been so lucky to have him on our team and help guiding a lot of our thought process about how we can use the beautiful game to bring people together.
Yeah, it's funny, Michael, you mentioned that because I was just thinking about that this morning, kind of in preparation of this podcast. And I think it was 2 years ago before the launch day of the MLS Next Pro team, and you were looking for some organic grassroots soccer happening in the area. That's right. I've been running pickup soccer at what is it called? The Field of Our Lady of Mount Carmel in Cleveland, in the Detroit Shoreway area through the nonprofit that I started now, Ohio City Soccer Club. We'd been running it all summer, and you guys came out and filmed everyone, kind of talked what it meant for the professional team to finally be coming to Cleveland. And, that just kind of got me thinking about what a long journey it's been and how incredible it is for the soccer community here in Cleveland that I think is really getting behind not just the professional team, but like you said, what the entire ecosystem can do.
So, fantastic, guys. Like I said, very excited to have you here and learn more about the goal, the process, when you started. Now, the ultimate goal is to bring, would it be an MLS men's team and an NWSL women's team? Do you think do they need to come together, one first and then the other? What do you think?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And we actually have a really unique opportunity in Cleveland to bring men's and women's professional soccer to Cleveland, but in the order and kind of in the rank that we want to do it. So, if you asked what got us involved, it was a little over 2 years ago now that my business partner, Noah, and I became aware that, Cleveland's really the last top 20 market in the country without professional soccer. And that's an opportunity, not just a business opportunity, but also an opportunity to do something really transformative for Northeast Ohio. We're Clevelanders through and through. Like Noah, we care deeply about Cleveland, and the fact that we're missing the beautiful game when it's about to become the most popular. Its popularity become the highest it's ever been, with the World Cup coming in 26, possibly the Women's World Cup in 27, Summer Olympics in 28, where women's soccer is always a marquee event. It was a huge opportunity for us. And as we spent most of 22 doing diligence on leagues, plural, and men's and women's professional soccer. And ultimately, in November of 22, announced that, we were going to bring an MLS Next Pro team to Cleveland. There's already 2 MLS clubs in the state of Ohio, one in Columbus and one in Cincinnati. So as the D1 men's, professional soccer and clearly the top soccer brand in the country looks to expand, the chances of them bringing an MLS club to Cleveland anytime soon are limited because of the teams that are already here. But when you look at Cleveland and missing soccer, it's so exciting that we have the capacity for Division I soccer, but we have the opportunity to bring it on the women's side. So we're after an NWSL team, and we would pair, the NWSL with MLS Next Pro in the sense they would play the same venue, but clearly the women's team is the top soccer brand in town, and would really be the only place where the NWSL in a top market where the women's team is actually the top brand, because everywhere else where they are, there's always an MLS club there or two that have been there longer and probably are a little bit bigger brands at the time. But so that's what we're looking to do.
Fantastic, man. Fantastic. Well, so how has it been going since 2022? I'm sure you guys have already accomplished quite a lot up to this point. What are some things you're proud of up to this point?
Well, there's a lot getting to this point, to be honest.
Yeah.
There's been efforts to bring professional soccer to Cleveland previously. I mean, going back 30 years, if you will. And it was almost 20 years ago, today that we had potentially we had an option on MLS club, and it was the Wolstein, and Mr. Wolstein passed, and really that kind of stopped that progress in its tracks. And here we are 20 years later, we don't have it here. So, but we're having really positive and serious conversations with, the city, the county, the state about building a soccer specific stadium, multi-purpose, but where it's being built for, the NWSL and women's professional soccer in a public-private partnership arrangement. And that would be the first of that type of partnership, to our knowledge. Kansas City just built a women's soccer stadium. It's incredible. Congratulations to them. That was privately funded. And this would be, a really nod of the cap to that the whole region really is supporting this and embracing this. So we're proud to be where we are, because it's been a long road, but we have every desire to win this next bid and build the stadium and take the next steps. But Noah was very involved in some efforts that really showed the demand for women's professional soccer here in Cleveland. We started the Back the Bid campaign. I see over your right shoulder, you're proudly sporting the image of that campaign, which was a focused, strong, female athlete playing pro soccer in kind of an iconic Cleveland location in the arcade. And Noah was really helpful and instrumental in the design of everything from the logo to the campaign. And recently, Noah, if you want to add a little bit where we are on that, and I think that's been a great success.
Yeah, I would say if there's one thing to really look at, especially from the last 6 months, to be just so proud, and I think really is vindicating for what Micheal and Nolan have been doing, is just that support on the NWSL bid campaign. I don't think it's a surprise to anyone in Northern Ohio how much interest and support there is for pro soccer here. Cleveland is a soccer crazy city, and for a place that hasn't had professional soccer and doesn't really have like a structured ecosystem that these professional teams bring, we've always punched above our weight, both with the number of participants and with how our teams here do on kind of the local and national scale. And so, on one end, it's not surprising that there's been a lot of support, but I think the amount of support, how vocal people are, and how excited families and the soccer community have been. We just passed a huge milestone, which was over 12,000 pledges for the campaign for tickets when the bid eventually gets accepted and comes here to Cleveland. And a huge shout out to Gina Kelly, who helped coordinated this interview, and I think has also been super instrumental in especially a lot of the digital side of what we've been doing. But to me, that was just a moment where I was like, yeah, we knew that, we can do all the studies we want. We can have all the conversations with people who play soccer. But then once you actually start putting it out there, start going to events, start meeting people, and start talking to them about what it would mean to have an NWSL team here in Cleveland, you start seeing those numbers go up, people raising their hand, wanting to be a part of it. That's when you realize it's not just something that we're doing to say, oh, Cleveland has another pro sports team. There's a massive need in this area for a team like this. And personally, I'm just so excited to be a part of it. And kudos to Micheal and Nolan for what they've done to make this a reality.
Well, that's brilliant. And, I love I can only imagine all the hard work and stuff that, you put in so far. And I'm sure there's quite, a long ways to go. But that's great to hear, 12,000 people. Like you said, I'm sure it's one thing to see something, when you have an idea, but then to see it start to come together and feel some people support you. I'm sure that has to be a pretty good feeling, isn't it?
No, it is. And it's not just a good feeling. It's critical to what we're trying to accomplish. It's going to be a competitive environment. Cleveland's going to be one of many cities, at least a dozen, that are probably going to advance to this next round. The league has said. And so the fact that we can actually demonstrate that type of support, we hope sets us apart. And, but again, these are pledges for a team that doesn't exist and a stadium that doesn't exist yet, but people had to take the time to do this. They bought a shirt. They got the social media assets. So it means something. And, we'll be over, 12.5 or more. I think we actually just passed that today. And so it's in a way, that's the type of stadium we're trying to build. It's about 12,500, at least initially, could be expanded in success. But, the fact is, essentially sold out, the stadium. Obviously, there's lots more steps before you sell it out, but that's the type of demand here. And it's, we're witnessing an inflection point in women's sports. It's not just soccer. Obviously, the world and this country, and Cleveland especially, just watched the Caitlin Clark effect as, we just hosted the NCAA Women's Final Four. And that was, if you're trying to do a public-private partnership for women's professional sports, and you've got to convince some politicians about the best thing that could happen to you is to have the Caitlin Clark show come into town, break all kinds of records, more viewership than anyone could have ever imagined. And, that's a weekend, and that's a 1 week, impact. And the numbers aren't done yet, but they talked about a $25 million economic impact. What we're talking about doing is more than $4 billion of impact over 30 years to bring that type of club to Cleveland and build that type of stadium and have that many events pumping through there, but all anchored around women's professional sports.
Well, I can tell you, here in Columbus, where I'm located, Cleveland, I think everyone around here knows, is a major player in soccer. It has been for a long time, between high school programs and club and amateur, like we were talking about before we came on the air, Noah. So with all the great things you've accomplished so far and all the hard work you've put in, what do you think of the next big hurdles you need to get over to continue to push forward with the project?
Sure. Well, we'll talk about that on a professional level first, and that's going after and securing and winning this bid to be the 16th team, and that's incumbent.
And when is that?
It'll happen this year. It'll happen this year.
Okay.
But that's incumbent upon us to put forth a viable stadium plan and the right ownership group, so that the league looks to Cleveland and they know it's a great opportunity to be the top brand in a major market. They know Cleveland punches above its weight, not just in soccer, but in professional sports in general. We really support our teams here, good, bad, or the ugly. And that's another. So we've got to get through that piece, but we are optimistic we're going to get through that. So we're going to continue to push forward on some of the foundation plans, which absolutely are in sync with your organization. You're probably aware, you're maybe aware that there's a big push to put a lot of mini pitches in this country before the World Cup comes in 26. And 1,000 is the goal, and they're well over halfway there at this point. And until a couple months ago, Cleveland didn't have any. And so one of the things we want to do with our foundation is fix that and make the game more accessible and really focus, especially on some urban areas where the game has not been as accessible historically in this country. And again, Noah was a great partner there. And, Noah put in the first of, what we want to do, at least 10 or a dozen of these near refugee response, but which has now been renamed Resource. I have to get that in my parlance, but so that's we need to keep accomplishing that. We've got a couple more that are going to be coming online, but Noah, if you want to share more about that vision.
Yeah. And I think that I think it fits into the whole story, and it might not be the make or break thing on if we get the bid or not. But it's something that's stuck out with me as I've been involved the last few years. My background is in nonprofit work and especially in nonprofit soccer access work. And I think Micheal and Nolan's the entire group's commitment to not just being like, oh, we're going to be a pro soccer team and we're going to come in, but saying we're going to be the top of the pyramid. We're going to be the preeminent soccer brand in Cleveland as the professional club in the city, but that's going to make waves across. And we've got a huge opportunity to create impact and letting us kind of start work on the foundation and that community impact before we even have a brand and a team. So it's not the self-serving nature that can often come with philanthropy and that of like, oh, well, it's all going to feed up to this brand and these ticket sales. We've got the opportunity to do some good in the community now, and let's start doing that. So like Micheal mentioned, we have a commitment to bringing, somewhere in the ballpark of 10 to 12 mini pitches, ideally before the World Cup. And the first one we put in right next to my office at my day job at a nonprofit here in Cleveland called Resource Cleveland, where we run a huge soccer program for refugees and newcomers in Cleveland, which is something that I've been doing the last few years. And it's been so awesome to see. Like we won a huge grant from the Trust for Public Land, and we're able to distribute a few tens of thousands of dollars to community soccer organizations in the city already. And my nonprofit that I started as a nonprofit adult amateur soccer club, started about 4 years ago, runs the only women's adult team that plays in Cleveland. And we've been doing that for the past 2 years. So I was just thinking, when Michael was mentioning the NCAA tournament here in Cleveland, that same weekend, we went to a film at the Cleveland International Film Fest called Copa 71, which tells the story of the first ever Women's World Cup, which was not recognized by FIFA and still hasn't been, in Mexico. Incredible story, incredible movie. But when you see kind of the impact of that, and I had brought a few players from our women's team and talking to them about what that means and what the future of this team will mean. It's not just the mini pitches. It's the belief and understanding that, Cleveland can be a part of this larger soccer ecosystem. And you mentioned, Jason, that we punch above our weights. We've got incredible soccer programs here in Cleveland, whether it's high school teams or the historic female club teams like Internationals, I think is a great example of that. And to have kids who are growing up and saying, I can play for a team in Cleveland, that can be my hometown team. I think it's immeasurable what that can mean to people. So I know that's a little off base of your question of like, what's the next thing, but that's always been like lock in step with what this group is doing. And that's something that's meant so much to me.
Well, I think that is, though, it does fit in because it's something I'm very passionate about as well. It's kind of what Straight from the Training Ground is all about, honestly, is that, from day one, we wanted to, share light on people like you guys out in your communities. There are a lot of people that talk about, the Champions League or, the Premier League and all these kind of things online or in different podcasts or social media. And we wanted to do something different and unique because I'm very passionate about, like what you said. I think that I love the fact that you're not just trying to aim to bring a team, you're trying to bring a culture, all the way down, to the kids, to the streets. Doesn't matter where you're from. It's not just trying to bring a franchise in, and I think that to me is what soccer is all about. And that's, something I'm very passionate about as well, is providing soccer for kids from all areas, whether they have the economic ability and structure to be able to play club and all those things. To me, that's what soccer is all about. It should be for everyone. So I love hearing the fact that, you guys have a plan, not just for a stadium and a professional team, but all these other things. So my next question, and brace yourself, but I know this is a long, we don't want to put the cart before the horse, but can both of you just give me an idea of what you think? I know you thought about it before. What will it be like to be in that stadium one day for a professional soccer game in Cleveland, knowing all the trials and tribulations and all the time that went into it? Can you just, what do you think that'll be like one day?
Noah, go ahead.
Yeah, I've thought about this. I think I've thought about this from as young as I could conceptualize what professional sports is. So, if I were to put it in a word, I think it'll be electric. And you go to any professional sports game up here in Cleveland at all. I was just at, the Cavs playoffs game, which granted is a playoffs game, or was at the Guardians game the other weekend. And Cleveland fans just love Cleveland. They love supporting, a professional team that's wearing a C on the badge. But one thing that Michael's talked a lot about that I think is a big part of this group is that Cleveland is also an extremely, extremely international city. And it's a city that has a large history of immigration. And one of the things that we've done is really work work with these cultural groups and kind of with the background of my work, do outreach to the immigrant and newcomer groups. And Michael has mentioned something before, not to say too much about what Michael said, but about, we have these strong Croatian populations in Cleveland, and what it would mean to bring Croatian players over that can feel like they're a part of that community and can represent those communities. And I just have this image in my head of being in the stadium and having all these cultural groups there, these cultural and ethnic groups there, and representation on the field from them that really bridges who Cleveland has been and what made it the city that it is with who it is now.
All right, Michael, for you.
No, that's it. You know what? I've been so focused on so many things that you forgot about some of the original great ideas that we still need to implement there. But it's so critical. But it's not just. It brings people together, right? It's a common denominator, clearly. When we talk about, Super Bowl ratings with Travis Kelce and how big they are, they're still just dwarfed by, what the soccer can draw with a World Cup. And that's the common denominator. And that's the ability to draw and really bring people together from all these different groups and communities in Cleveland. And yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, if we have players, we want to fly the Stars and Stripes will be flying prominently, but we'll fly those other flags because that's what this we are a global city. We're a city built on immigrants, and the old school, as he was saying, Croatian or Slovene or Irish or Italians, or whether it's the newer Salvadorians, Guatemalans, Nigerians. It's as important to the fabric of the story. And we can learn a thing or two from Croatian football. They're a country of 3 million. Is that right? Approximately 1% or less than 1% of our population. But, if the U.S. national team is going toe-to-toe with the Croatian men's national team every week, right now, I'm pretty sure we get the short end of that stick. But long-term, though, that's one of the fun things to do if you're going to build an ecosystem. There's communities and cities in this country that have become pillars of U.S. soccer because they've done it the right way. And whether that's, in Kansas City or San Diego or other places like that, it happens. And when you're focused on it, that would be a great point of pride for Cleveland, that we've been able to produce a player for the men's or women's national team in 10 to 15 years because they started in our program. They came up this way and became one of the stars for the United States.
Absolutely. So if you're just tuning in, just joining us again, we're here with the Cleveland Sports Group, or the Cleveland Soccer Group, I'm sorry. Here's our t-shirt. Check them out on social media. Follow them, support them in their efforts to bring professional soccer to Cleveland. Micheal, Noah, can't thank you guys enough, and definitely want to stay in touch. As someone in Ohio, I hope to, I can't wait to see that come to fruition one day and see professional soccer on the men's and women's side. And I love the fact that, you're trying to do both. I think that's brilliant. That would be great. And honestly, as a fan of soccer, I wish that, more cities were like that, where they had, an NWSL team and an MLS team to kind of go together, in the same fashion. But until then, best of luck with everything, and congrats on all the hard work you've put in so far. And just can't wait to see it, guys.
Great. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us on. This was a blast.
Check out our friends at Duke Brand FC for all of your coaching needs, notebooks, and more. Visit our friends at TractionSocks.com for your grip socks.